What in the blue hell happened last night in Trinidad?
You have a team that doesn't feel the need to find urgency in games. And this is something that I don't like to listen to the Twitter chuckleheads, but I fully understand this reasoning that this team embodies the personality of its coach. And its coach is not a fiery person. He's not he certainly hasn't tried to elicit any sort of passion or motivation in this team throughout his tenure. The first time, he hasn't done it the second time. And you have a team right there now that looks like they're just complacent, which is the number one thing we're afraid of when we have a second cycle head coach, which is why I have always been against rehiring Greg Berhalter. We can talk about tactics. We can talk about whatever. It's complacency. That is the number one killer of any team trying to find success. And that's what you see right now. They were happy with the 3-0 win against Trinidad. Well, it sucked for 81 minutes, but hey, we got a 3-0 win. You go down to Trinidad, and I don't know what Sergiño Dest decided to do. It certainly wasn't play soccer. But this team is not ready to compete with the biggest and best on the world stage. And that, to me, stems from the coach.
Maddy for Bart Keeler, go.
I mean, just from your point of view, watching that game, I mean, we could talk about Dest all we want. I mean, but other than what happened with Dest, when we went down to 10 men, what were some of the things that you saw that we need to improve upon going ahead if we're going to be going off whoever we're facing off in the semifinals?
Well, problem is hopefully you're not playing with 10 men, so
Sure.
It's a special situation. But Trinidad managed to go a quite long time without conceding with 10 men. And we gave up a goal almost immediately. And again, that comes down to mentality. That comes down to wanting to put in the work to not give up a goal. And it was a weak midfield. It was a soft midfield that allowed a player to find space and find a pass. It was a man who is not as good as Miles Robinson defending and getting beat, not only for pace, but for strength. Don't miss me with the Scotland bull crap, because he got absolutely worked by a guy who doesn't play anywhere close to the Scottish Premier League. Actually, no, that one isn't the one in the Scottish Premier League. Those things are disappointing because that is a mentality. I'm sorry, I hate to not talk about tactics, but so many people get caught up in the weeds of tactics and don't look at the mentality of the team out there going, okay, you have to regroup. And this is a little bit Sergiño Dest's fault. He put this wrench into everything, but you have to regroup and understand your goal at 39 minutes is to get through the half. And you didn't do it. It seems a heck of a lot like the other team we watched. That's why I'm wearing this jersey right now, because this was a very Atlanta United road performance. A mentally weak team who doesn't respond well to adversity.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry to go Carly Lord on you, but that's what it looked like last night.
What?
I mean, you're right, 100%. I mean, yeah.
Round one. Who's going berserk here?
Not me.
So somebody's getting messages and emails here.
It is me.
Or at the very least, someone is hitting the ding and agreeing with Bart every single point that he.
I thought that's what it was. They were agreeing.
It wasn't out of my board. It was out of Maddy's board.
It was out of mine. I was getting a little text.
So then, Bart. So then, going into this match, Bart, I mean, would you have adjusted the starting 11? How would you have adjusted it? Because obviously,
no, I actually thought the starting 11 was okay given the players that we have available. Right. I think where the adjustments needed to be made and what the wrong adjustments were made was when we got the red card, and instead of taking off one of the two strikers you have, you pulled off Gio Reyna. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think that Gio is going to play all 90 in this match, but at some point you also have to say, sorry, I'm going to blow the explicit warning. Club wishes be damned.
Oh, that's not the explicit warning.
Okay, good. Club wishes be damned. Yeah. Gio's got to put in a shift here. Because without Gio Reyna, without our third midfielder, we fell apart. But you left two strikers out there for God knows what reason. So the starting lineup was good. I actually liked the starting lineup because I'll also say to defend a little bit Greg Berhalter and the team, we created a couple chances inside their pit. We had 6 shots inside their penalty area in the first half, right? Inside. 2 of which probably could have been goals that the goalkeeper stopped. You know, they had a better goalkeeping on the day. We can talk about Matt Turner in a second. But it wasn't like we were trash. We had a 1-0 lead. It probably should have been 2. And that goes even back, though, to the first match where you can talk tactics and boring and sluggish, whatever. But that wasn't the reality. The reality is we should have scored 2 goals in the first half of the first match. So this team doesn't seem to have the idea that they are playing to win a damn game, John. You play to win the game.
Okay? He's going Dennis Green on us.
And that's something that has kind of been pervasive outside of the Nations League finals, right? We don't really prioritize Gold Cup. We don't really prioritize Nations League until the finals, okay? So the message to the team from the coach, whose only job, it seems, is to win a trophy at the end of the year, not actually make the team better. The message from the coach is these matches aren't that important. When you take off Gio Reyna, you're saying, oh, these matches aren't that important. And that's the problem we have right now is, again, complacency and a mentality that is not, we need to do everything we can to win this game right now.
Yep.
See,
nailed it right on the head.
now I need to grab the Herm Edwards drop. I attributed it incorrectly to Dennis Green. We knew who we thought they were as Dennis Green. You play to win the game as Herm Edwards. All right, so let's get into Matt Turner.
Dennis Green was they are who we thought they were.
Yes, and then we let him off the hook. So that might also be appropriate. I'm probably going to have to get both of them. All right, so contributor Niall is discussing Matt Turner. Let's go ahead and discuss Matt Turner. No, Miles did not get in this match.
No.
And
which he should have been. I'm sorry. He should have started. And that's the other thing. That was the only part of that starting lineup I thought was bad. I thought the Tim Ream CCV decision was stupid on Greg. It was naive on Greg's part.
I agree.
It was naive. If you put Chris Richards and Miles Robinson, 2 very athletic, gifted center backs, against a Trinidad team who is going to score on counterattacks and crossing, that's how they're going to score. That would have been the only change to the starting lineup I would have made. But
all right, so then let's discuss
Matt Turner.
Yes, Matt Turner, go. Index finger pointing at Bart.
Look, he gave up a really soft goal. Yeah. He should have saved it. That's your job in that moment. As a goalkeeper, unfortunately, we are tasked with cleaning up the mess of the 10 players, and in this case, 9 players in front of us. But he should have saved that goal. That free kick should not have gone in. You can talk about, it knuckled or what that. It hit him in the damn palms. It hit both of his hands. That ball cannot go in the back of the net. And look, the problem we have behind that is Matt Turner's not starting at his club. He's not getting as consistent a minutes as we were hoping he would get going to Nottingham Forest.
Yep.
But John, who's coming up behind him? Who's coming up behind him? There's not anyone right now in this U.S. keeper pool that maybe Ethan Horvath, who has been good for us, but has also had howlers.
Ooh. Drake
They're looking to replace him with David De Gea. That tells you how good of a goalkeeper he actually is. Well, I'm sorry.
That's buddy. That's buddy cop. That's Tango and Cash. That's what that is.
But there's not Drake Callender is not that dude. He's just not.
I'm thinking hot hand right now more than anything else. Drake Callender's getting Sean Johnson.
When's the last time Drake Callender played a damn soccer game, John?
Yeah, well, when was the last time
that mattered? Not not Noche del Goat or
no. When was the last time that Greg Berhalter went with somebody other than Matt Turner in a match?
Greg Berhalter? Ooh, I don't know. We had Horvath once or twice. Actually, Horvath. The last match I can remember Horvath playing was the Nations League last summer against Nicaragua.
All right, so then
follow a howler.
So then follow-up question: What should the goalkeeper camp be then? If
I'm telling you, the problem is the goalkeeper camp is what it is. There's no one stepping up to really. I mean, I don't think that your Turner, Horvath, Slonina is a bad group of three. The problem is none of them are an elite level goalkeeper like we're used to seeing from the U.S. men's national team. Stefan is not it. Callender is not there yet. Sean Johnson's almost as old as Brad Guzan. And I say that with 2 bad knees at the same age as Sean Johnson. You could look at a guy like Roman Salentano or Schultz from Columbus, or those are guys who are progressing, and we can talk about them. And Chris Brady is another one, right? These are good young goalkeepers. They're not there yet, right? Yeah. But the problem still can't be when you look at this roster, John. It is definitively and indefatigably better than what Trinidad and Tobago put out there. And we still looked bad in 2 games in a row and lost one. Greg Berhalter has 1 win on the road. 1 win on the road in CONCACAF during his time as manager. That is bad.
I would imagine so, yes. Indefatigably. I actually spelled that right. Indefatigably. Maddy Cruz for Bart Keeler.
I mean, you brought it up too. I mean, how much of, and I think me and John talked about this with some of the Twitch members as well earlier, but I mean, looking on into the decision with Dest and that culture surrounding it, how much of it do you think is at fault of Berhalter or just as fault as Dest being a hothead, and kind of how that's going to relay going into for the next couple games?
Well, I don't think you can correlate what Dest did to Berhalter directly, because Dest did something kind of similar back in June in the Nations League semifinal against Mexico.
So last player to get an assist and a red before Dest getting an assist and a red was Dest.
Right. So, but that right there is kind of the that's the mercurial nature of Sergiño Dest is you need him on the field because that assist in both games was very nice. You love the right back to left back for a diving header assist. That's fantastic. And that's, again, like the tactics in this game until the Dest red card were great. You had Jedi, you had Brendo, you had Pepe, you had Ballo had a terrible game, but we can talk about that later. they were doing well. And Sergiño Dest was part of that. And he had a pretty good response to a bad game. I don't think he was the worst player on the field, but a bad game against Trinidad the first time around. But it's a problem that needs to be addressed. You know, he seemed somewhat conciliatory and remorseful in his Instagram post last night, but an apology has to be backed up with action and correction. And, you know, he's going to go a long time without playing for the national team because he can't play until the final of the Nations League, I would imagine. If he even gets that, it wouldn't surprise me if he's set for that game as well. And I don't agree with the people saying he should take a long step. Like, no, like people get red cards. It stop. But he has to understand what he did was serious and does hurt the team. And one game, it may also, we don't know, it could be more, John. We've seen this in MLS where a guy failing to leave the field to play in a timely manner gets an extra game tacked on. So we'll see what CONCACAF decides to do about that. But I wouldn't be shocked if he's not playing at all during the Nations League finals.
All right. So as Bart controls the boss there. Question from Ricky, and this is where the whiplash nature of Twitch pitch, everything integrates.
Excuse me. Sorry about my dogs. They're going crazy right now.
Maddy, make sure that the UPS person, you know, in the mail it's all good.
Listen, man.
All right. So then Ricky asks Bart, are there any uncommitted dual nationals that the U.S. can get or flip when it comes to the keeper?
So the answer is yes. But in keeper position, I don't think so.
Yeah.
None that would elevate our game. Right. And again, that's the issue, is that Matt Turner right now is still the pinnacle of U.S. goalkeeping, and the guys behind him aren't there yet. This is a down era, if you will, for U.S. men's national team goalkeeping. And it just, you know, we thought that it was going to be Stefan, who has proved to not be it. I think Matt Turner is still your number one. But again, you know, as a goalkeeper, I'll say Matt Turner. No one feels worse about that goal than Matt Turner, but he is in a dip of form. And I think that's kind of the thing for me is Matt Turner does have highs and lows with his form. But his high is way higher than anyone else. His low is still better than most of our goalkeepers. But we do have dual nationals we could flip in other positions. You may know a guy named Luka Kolyosha who plays for Burnley. You probably watch him if your team's playing them. I know there aren't any Burnley fans in the Twitch pitch, but JJ Watt might be able to do some help there. Maybe we get JJ to I don't know, take him out for a nice American dinner out there in Burnley, get him some real food.
Yeah, little HBO, a little basic cable.
Yeah.
But
there are. But the problem, John, again, was that roster, the lineup that played last night.
To your
is
point,
better than what it should have been.
Contributor Niall says, if I was Berhalter, I would have laid into Dest, but I don't know if that's in Greg's DNA. He's done this twice now. I tell him you're not getting picked up if you keep doing this. There are fullbacks I would personally call up over Dest. Brooks Lennon is an example. I'm shocked he hasn't been called up with his numbers, 12 assists and 4 goals.
I have defended Brooks Lennon as an Atlanta United player for a while. But I do think that there are right backs ahead of him. We saw one of them last night, Joe Scally come in. Brian Reynolds currently playing for the U23s. But I think Brooks deserves a look. And, we'll obviously probably get something come out in the next month about a Camp Cupcake in January. And I would like to see Brooks in one of those camps because I do think it could be useful. But, we even still have DeJuan Jones, who has been pretty decent for the U.S. men's national team, good at the CONCACAF level, who can play right and left back as well. So I think the problem for Brooks is that there are guys behind or above him. The problem for Dest, though, is there are guys behind him who are pretty good. None of them, though, can do the things that Sergiño Dest does in attack. And that's the problem here is he's super special.
Maddy for Bart Keeler.
I mean, it also begs the question, you have Brooks Lennon. I've said it too. I would love to see him go up there. I don't necessarily think right now he's going to be over anybody else, but I do want to see him get called up. So I like that point. I love Brooks Lennon as an Atlanta United fan. I'm pulling for him. But I mean, I guess that just goes to question: is there anybody on the younger side like this, the U17s that we can kind of bring up as well to kind of being placeholders for that, and how can we develop them more to kind of get them onto the national team, first team?
Well, I said Brian Reynolds, who's with the U23s right now. He's in that Olympic age. I don't know if I'm ready to pull anyone up from the U20s or U17s quite yet. Just because, one, they're in their stage of development where they need to be. And two, no one's fully kind of broken out of that. And again, Sergiño Dest is at a level that no one else can really reach. I mean, he's playing Champions League matches for PSV, and he'll probably hopefully be playing Europa League after Arsenal wins that group. So sorry, I had to get one in there. But I don't think there's anyone from the younger outside of Brian Reynolds who's ready to make that step up. I mentioned DeJuan Jones could play right back. Obviously, Joe Scally on the team right now, probably the right back, especially now that we have Christopher Lund, who seems to be a solid left back backup for Jedi. You don't have to worry so much about Joe Scally being called in to deputize at left back. So I don't think there's a younger player in that sense now. And Caleb Wiley's a left back now.
Yeah. 85th minute. Who's on this U23 roster that's playing Morocco, by the way, in this match?
Actually, it's a pretty decent roster. Benjamin Kramaski. Oh. I was a little upset that Caleb wasn't a part of this camp, but I think that there are things who knows if that's a Caleb decision or a U.S. soccer decision, honestly, at this point.
Yeah.
The kid just played a full season of soccer.
Right.
Kamachki's on there. Brady is on there. A lot of the Philly kids, McGlynn, I believe Sullivan's on there. You had Tolkien, I believe, is on there, if I'm remembering correctly. Okay. It's a pretty good group. And again, this is all trying to just build toward that 2024 Olympics. And honestly, as I will say repeatedly with youth national teams, the results are not as important as the performance, individual and team-wise. And, you're just trying to build camaraderie, build cohesion, and get enough of these guys in your U23 pool so that you can pull from them when the Olympics come calling next summer.
San Pedro del Pinatar is the location of the prefab stadium that has been created. It looks like it's on the coast.
I'm glad you said that, not me.
San Pedro del Pinatar?
Yeah.
Just say it quickly. That's the easiest thing. If there's something that you can't pronounce, just blow through it quick, and then you come close. Looks like it's a gorgeous prefab facility that's been placed into some kind of a resort camp kind of a deal. 86-minute Morocco leading 1-0 on the U23 side of the friendlies. Nix has a question. Can we please talk about Brendan Aronson? Why is he still getting all these opportunities? He was on the ground more than on his feet last night.
Well, that's what happens, Jason, when you get kicked all over the field and the other team isn't given a yellow card until the 80-something minute. I was very disappointed in the officiating last night. I thought it had no effect on the game. Do not even try to spin that as me saying that it did. But he was bad official last night. He didn't control the match very well at all. And
no.
One of those areas in which it was out of control was Trinidad just bullying Brendan Aronson. Now, part of that is, we call him the little brother of America because he kind of gets little brothered a lot. But, I think the problem again is who behind Brendo is getting those opportunities, because you gave Kevin Paredes a start at home and he wasn't good.
That's true.
So if you have Pulisic out, you have Weah out, who's playing that wing position? I mean, who do you give it to? Certainly not Cade Cowell, who hasn't shown anything, both league or national team play this year. Let me rephrase that. Hasn't shown any actual product in league or national team play. He's a lot of flash. The hair is great, but
I was going to say, fine head of hair.
But Brendo's getting in good positions to score goals, and eventually you have to hope that that's going to happen. He had several chances in the first game. He had a couple in the second game, and they just didn't work. But Greg's always going to pick Brendan because he works hard, he presses well, and that it's a little bit of a flashback to older generations of U.S. men's national team players. But you got to have that in a squad too, of a guy who's just going to continually work hard and fight to get the ball back. Unfortunately, he's like 5'2", 98 pounds, and not going to win that over a Trinidadian center back who's 38 years old. So,
and is 6'5" and about 230.
Yeah. They didn't play Hackshaw last night though. The Portly one.
There was no Neville Hackshaw sightings last night. That's correct.
No, I don't think there was.
Good to see Ryan Telfer though. That from the Miami FC and other places. Maddy, go for it.
I mean, going on to the semifinal, whoever we end up playing in the CONCACAF Nations League. I mean,
which, by the way, we don't have a set bracket. I want to they'll re-rank us by CONCACAF rankings at that point. I don't get it. We can talk about that when we talk about Copa America in a second, by the way.
Okay.
But I mean, looking ahead to that, who do you want to see starting, and also what adjustments do you think need to be made before going into that semifinal?
Well, I mean, I think the starting lineup is going to write itself, and we've talked about this on Soccer for Us for a while, is that there is a very set 11 plus 5 or 6 others, right? We have a core, almost 18 at this point that we know. You're going to see basically what we saw against Trinidad in the home match, plus / minus Paredes and Tillman. You're going to add Pulisic and Weah. Hopefully we get Tyler Adams back by then, because last night was a game that was screaming for Tyler Adams, and obviously wasn't available. But the lineup's going to be what it has been. I mean, the problem that we are kind of running into is when we had because the last cycle we brought guys in at such young ages, they're established veterans. That's a plus in some ways, but we haven't really seen an evolution because these guys are so good. But the tactics need to change, and that sometimes the tactics are being a little bit more direct. I think that was something that Greg tried to instill toward the end of his last cycle and has kind of gotten away of, a little bit more direct. But at the same time, you're not going to be playing a team, especially in the first match that we saw, that's literally putting 10 players behind the ball, 9 of them in the box. So that should hopefully help. Problem is, we could be seeing Panama, could be seeing Honduras, 2 teams who are playing, especially Panama, a team that is playing with so much confidence and so much swagger and with such a clear identity of who they want to be. And that would be something that would be really cool to have as the U.S. men's national team outside of just a team who has the ball a lot.
All right. 91st minute, 3 minutes have been added. Morocco still leading the United States by the score of 1-0. Copa America. So the remaining topics I've got on the board, Copa America, the women's team roster, considering it's a roster, well, that'll be the next topic. And then the reffing down here with the IFAB Wenger Rule being discussed later today, or it might be being discussed right now, considering it's almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Overseas.
Jason, hold on. No, Nations League semis and finals are in Dallas. They're in Arlington, AT&T Stadium.
Yes.
And the play-in matches for Copa America, which the teams who lose these quarterfinals, they'll be playing in Frisco. So you could be seeing Mexico playing a play-in match in Frisco, Texas, while the U.S., Canada, Honduras, and Panama are playing the semifinals and finals.
Ooh, buddy. Oh, man. Yeah. That just is a bit of a mind bender in and of itself if results go a certain way tonight. So Bart Keeler at Bartimus Prime 19 hanging out with us as he always does at 10:30 on a given day of the week. If nothing's going on, it's a Wednesday. What's the mug for today, by the way?
Drink coffee, do good.
There you go. So. And then if there is MNT action or WNT action, he will join us traditionally the day after for postmortems and yelling and ranting and raving and screaming and correcting the narratives that are out there. So Copa America was announced yesterday, and I'm just going to phrase it this way. How much of a big blanking deal is this?
Oh, I mean, it's awesome because when you look at the other stadium or cities that have been leaked/announced, right? We know Miami's hosting the final. We understand Miami's hosting the final for Copa America. That's the capital of the Caribbean, the capital of Latin America, certainly the capital of Latin American culture and heritage in this country.
It's the capital of Messi and friends.
Yeah, it's also Messi's hometown. But we understand that. The other two that Andres Cantor let out was Vegas and LA for the semifinals. I don't know if anyone saw that, but not confirmed, but that's what he reported. Atlanta is up there, and you don't put an opening match in a not important city. Does it help that we have? There you go.
There it is.
Does it help that we have a fantastic stadium, 71,000 seats, that is a great showcase or a great stage for any great sporting event? Yes, that helps. But there are others. I mean, you could have given the opening match to Vegas or LA or Dallas or Houston. You didn't. They chose Atlanta.
The reigning home of U.S. soccer headquarters.
The capital of U.S. soccer. We're going to have to make scarves and stickers out of that. So working on that. That's my
there you go.
Sweater.
1-0 final in Spain, by the way, on the friendly.
Yeah.
Dang. It's a big deal. It is a big deal. What I'm most excited for, in talking with Doug Robertson last night, shout out Doug, we're going to get to again see this stadium put down grass and see what it looks like. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's a big deal because, I understand there's a lot of time that goes into that. Before the match is played, and there's not a lot of time you can play on that surface after the match because of the way the grass grows or doesn't grow. But I think it's good to test this out again before the World Cup. Now, if only there were a university in the state that had some sort of turf science and management that could figure out a better way to grow grass without grass being there. Instead, they're trying to win national championships in football, and I think their priorities are out of line. They should be focusing on building a better way to grow grass for the World Cup and not, trying to win football games.
3 in a row. Jason, yeah, exactly, brother.
Jason's not on this morning, so I can yell. I can say that.
Yeah. Hey, and you're bowl eligible, and you got a big game coming up this weekend.
If I don't think about it, it makes me feel better.
Oh man, Maddy for Bart about Copa America. Go.
I mean, I know when I saw the news, I was so excited. I saw the news. I came home and like immediately my stepbrother too was like, "Did you see the news?" I was like, "I did," and I'm already looking at tickets because I want to go so bad.
Yeah.
But I guess just on top of it, I mean, Atlanta has grown and has always been known as a soccer city. But I mean, I guess just what is this going to do more in progressing soccer firmly here in terms of an international level?
Yeah, so I think from the international level, this is actually something that I'm hopeful for. And I think Atlanta United, first off, has a great Latino fan base. Like, I mean, a lot of our chants are in Spanish because we have a lot of Spanish speaking and Latino people in the supporter section and in our fan base in general. But this to me makes that even more like it cements us, puts us in front of even more of that population, which is a thriving population here in Atlanta. I mean, the Latino community, not just in Atlanta, but even in suburbs outside of it, is amazing. Hopefully this allows Atlanta United to get a little bit more saturated into these markets, if you'll allow me to make some marketing speech there. I think, if you want my honest opinion, I think they missed that mark a little bit when Messi didn't come to town, but Miami came to town, and there were a ton of Messi/Inter Miami jerseys in the building, none of whom actually were cheering for Inter Miami. And they missed an opportunity I think a lot of MLS teams did. They should have had some sort of T-shirt or towel or something of a giveaway, like for everyone who walked into that stadium. But it's just another opportunity to put your brand, if you will, in front of as an audience that really could love your brand more than you could conceive. And they've done a good job of it already, but it's just another opportunity to get into that market.
Niall, contributor Niall, he's probably not far off the mark. He says he wants Argentina to play in the opening match.
Yeah. So the way we don't know for sure, the draw is December 7th.
Correct.
We don't exactly know how they're going to be seeding the teams sequentially, but we do know that the seeding is done based on the FIFA rankings for all the qualified teams. So you have the 10 CONMEBOL teams and the 6 CONCACAF teams. U.S. is qualified. We're in. As of right now, the U.S. is ranked 11th in the FIFA rankings. We are the highest ranked CONCACAF team and the third highest ranked team between both confederations. We're behind Brazil and Argentina. That's not going to change. I don't envision Colombia or Uruguay jumping us because we played competitive matches while they also were playing competitive matches. And I don't think the points are going to sway too much. Because I think Colombia is like 19 and Uruguay is 15 or 16. So that's a lot for them to have to jump. So point is, I think the U.S. specifically will be a top 4 team. Argentina most likely will stay at that number 1. I don't see them slipping. So you'll probably see U.S. in pot 1 with Argentina and Brazil, possibly Mexico, possibly another South American team. We don't know if Argentina, as the top ranked team, will be automatically placed in A1. We don't know that. I would imagine that they will try to do that. Obviously, the U.S. is not Team A1 because we're not truly the host team. We are hosting the tournament, but we just did it as a favor to, I think, Ecuador because they backed out of hosting duties. So the U.S. stepped in. We're not the hosts. We don't get those privileges like others have in the past, like we did in 2016 for the Centenario, which was its own tournament that we decided to host. So yes, I think the most likely scenario is Argentina is playing in Atlanta for that opening match, but that is not a given because we just don't know how CONMEBOL is going to place the teams once they're seeded into the 4 pots.
Yeah, I imagine it's going to be a 1 versus a 16.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, John. We don't know what the draw, like you'll have the top 4 in pot 1, teams 5 through 8, 9 through 12, 13 through 16. So I'm with you. Like, we don't know if that means like if they're doing it, snake draft, or they're truly doing a draw. We don't really know. But it's most likely that Argentina is, of all the scenarios, Argentina playing in Atlanta for that opening match is the most likely.
And then the U.S., of course, gets one of those sneaky 3-14 games where everybody might pick the 14 seed come that time of year anyway. A couple other things before we go. The USWNT roster is out. No Alex Morgan.
Yeah, I think part of this is they didn't really talk a lot about Twyla specifically said she wasn't going to reveal the details of the conversations with some of the players left off. I would imagine because you also are missing like Crystal Dunn, US. Some of these players are just probably just like, yo, I'll take the break. I don't know if they said don't include me. I don't think that's it, but they probably are very understanding of why we're calling in some younger, fresher faces.
Well, and Mewis has got some things that she's got to work on. She's got to plan something, man.
Listen, Christy's got to go watch her fiance go play at Chelsea. She's also scouting future U.S. Women's National Team coach Emma Hayes for us. So, good for Christy making that official. The thing that we've known for forever is official.
Yeah.
But it's a good roster because it's a good opportunity before the W Gold Cup, because this is the last camp before that, to kind of broaden the player pool just a little bit, expand it a little bit, and just be able to make some more informed decisions. Because there are some of these players who I think there's 9 or 10 that were left off from the World Cup roster. There's a couple that we could be seeing the page truly turning on them. Sauerbrunn not on the World Cup roster, but it wouldn't surprise me if, as much as everyone loves her, we start moving away from Becky. Alyssa Nair is another one that I think we're going to need to start moving on from. Nothing against her. It's just, why are we delaying the inevitable type of thing? It wouldn't surprise me if Mewis has seen her last days with the U.S. national team. But players like Dunn, Huerta, Morgan, they'll have roles to play as we go forward. But it's just for this camp, it makes sense to call in players like Jenna Neiswanger or Sam Coffey, again, or even, not bring Alex Morgan so you can bring Fischel and Hatch. These are fine. It's fine.
I agree. I think it's nice to see like a different, like you said, like broadening the roster and seeing like these new players kind of step up and see kind of how this can turn. I think in this camp, they're going to come in and then, moving on to the Gold Cup, we might see Alex Morgan and all them come back in to be more of a veteran role. But for right now, I mean, you want to bring in these players, you want to try new things. I mean, honestly, like with the new head coach, they want to try new things. And I mean, you want to see what players you have at your disposal and you want to kind of see how they work together and see what fits, what doesn't. And then that way, when you go to the Gold Cup, you can kind of mesh the younger and the new players with some of the more veteran ones.
Yeah. And I mean, again, with Nair, it allows you to bring in Jane Campbell, right? Who she's 28. She's not old by any stretch for a goalkeeper. She could very much be a key in this cycle. I don't think Audrey Kingsbury is staying around much longer, but hey, whatever. I think it's fine to move on from, the Nair, the Morgan, even Dunn, and say, okay, let's see what the younger players can give us. So you're right. I think one thing that Vlatko did well in his time is give opportunities like these types of late year or early year camps to bring in newer faces, because we've seen how with the U.S. men's national team, you have a specific camp every year that is for kind of fringe guys who maybe not, truly looked at. And sometimes it's beneficial, and we've decried it a lot, but it is nice to be able to expand your pool a little bit. And for the women, we haven't really seen that. It's like, well, you get 23 to 26 players, and that seems to just be who you keep calling in. It's good to look at other players in camp and not just look at them on film or in person at their club game.
U17s lose after having 2 comebacks, lose 3-2 to Germany in the round of 16 of the U17 World Cup. Quickly on that. Again,
I think performance matters more than actual results, and this team has played exciting soccer throughout the tournament. The France game is an anomaly because you rotated so much, but even then, it wasn't like they were terrible. They just lost to a really good France team. I am excited to see how Crocker and company continue to prioritize youth national teams, because I do think that was something that U.S. soccer didn't do a whole lot of in recent years. And it will make your senior team better if you have good national team or youth national team structures. And we just haven't had a whole lot of that.
And not getting up at 3:30 in the morning to watch that either. So,
yeah, I mean, look, it's on my YouTube TV to watch.
There you go.
Listen,
it'll be on tape from Indonesia. It will not be
hit that record button, y'all.
Exactly. So Bart, I think the next
time
we
want to talk reffing down here.
Well, we can. I mean, what's on your reffing down here, Mike?
Well, we talked about. I mean, I know the Arsene Wenger offside rule is up for.
It's up for debate. Yeah. And whether IFAB would change it and actually go with the Wenger Rule or not.
Here's why I have confidence in IFAB that they won't change it, because I think this would be a very bad change to the laws of the game, because it would not make the game better for everyone. I think it makes a whole lot of sense at the pro and international level for those countries that implement VAR, because it is a clearer way and a almost fairer way of determining are you offside or not. I think more people would have better. They would be able to take in and process better. Oh, well, his boot cleat is still not farther behind the goal. Not in front of the attacker, right? I think, or the defender. I think we would be able to comprehend that a little bit better than, oh, well, his booger is offside, which is, seems to be, sorry, that just seems to be, his Mesut Ozil's eyeballs are offside or whatever it is, Come on, John. We're all we listen.
Mental images down here.
Well, sorry, but that's how it has felt like with some of these VAR decisions recently. I don't think that's applicable to someone like me at the grassroots level. You're going to have just as much controversy, because now I'm like, well, was there truly daylight when you've got guys running and there's daylight all everywhere? What's daylight? I don't. It's harder. That to me is harder to judge than is there part of the playable part of their body in front of the defender, rather than is their entire body past that line.
Basically, just the inverse. Instead of it being if one part is off, he's off. If one part is on, he's on.
Right. And some of that is, I think you could say, oh, well, this is a better, an easier way, because if you get it wrong, it's easier to say, oh, well, I thought he was, fully onside or whatever. But I think we need to just improve the semi-automatic technology. And then if we have to review things, we can go there. Because with the semi-automatic stuff, for me, that's great for quick decisions, just checking goals. And I think that's where people get really confused, is why is it taking so long to rule a goal good or not? And that way, when we know that it goes to truly a VAR review, it's elevated to something that's a little bit more than just, is he on or off? Talk about that Harry Maguire goal from 3 weeks ago, where one, I think the fault there was putting Harry Maguire on the soccer field, but that's neither here nor there. I think Manchester United should continue to do that if I were them, but maybe not the best decision if you want to win games. But that's an example of, okay, we need to actually look at, is he onside or offside? And that maybe eliminates some of the confusion of, okay, we know that they're looking at something a little extra than just someone's on or offside. The goal scorer is on or offside, if that makes any sense.
Oh, it does. It absolutely does, because it makes more sense here than it does when people are trying to speak about it in English. Let's see. Breaking news before we go. Greenville Triumph have named their new head coach to succeed John Harkes. It is Rick Wright being elevated from the lead assistant's position. He's been an assistant ever since 2019, and the program came online. So Rick Wright gets promoted to be head coach and technical director. Our MLS season pass announcers for the semis have been announced. Keith and Mo for Purple Team in Columbus. Kanji and Danny for the game that's probably going to set the world back about a good 20 years with Philly and FC Cincinnati. Kevin and Kendra doing Houston and Sporting, and Jake and TT get to do Seattle and LAFC. So I will be listening to
Really?
local radio call. That's what I'll be doing.
I guess that makes sense because people still think Seattle and LA are good at soccer. So I suppose that's why they think that's the most exciting matchup of that round.
Yeah, no doubt. Sure. No, I will be listening to the local radio option or something other than that. So, Bart, what's the plans for Thanksgiving?
Tomorrow, I'm driving to Athens and then Milledgeville and then Bluffton, South Carolina.
Okay.
Picking up a brother in Athens, picking up a brother in Milledgeville, and then we're driving to Bluffton.
Okay.
The one at Statesboro is already in Bluffton because that's close. So
Okay.
Don't need to go pick him up.
Right.
Spending Thanksgiving in a 55 and up community with my aunt and the rest of my family.
Okay. So then let me ask you this. Is there a Keeler family specific dish that is attached to the Thanksgiving?
Yeah. So our big dish is broccoli casserole, but it's not broccoli casserole made with a condensed soup of any kind. Okay. We don't do that. It is broccoli and butter and cheese and Ritz crackers and more cheese.
Okay.
So it's not a soup-based casserole. We
Okay.
do have that for the green bean casserole, but no, ours is not a soup-based casserole, which means it's healthy.
Oh, we can't have that. Maddy, what about the Cruz family hacienda celebration?
Everyone's coming here for the first time. Most of my family lives up in Athens, so they're all coming here to Swanee, and we're gonna have some fun stuff here. We're gonna hang out. We got the whole place decorated, looking for Christmas because it is Christmas time. I don't care what anyone says.
It's not Thanksgiving time yet. It can't be Christmas until you pass Thanksgiving. Black Friday.
As soon as Halloween's over, it's Christmas.
Are you one of those people that wants to have July 4th and have the holiday decorations up for
John, there's no liturgical calendar for holidays, okay?
There isn't. I love Christmas. I will celebrate it all the time, every day, if I can.
All right. I understand that. We'll be back at it again, 9:05 tomorrow. We'll talk more stuff. Maddy, thanks for filling in at the beginning and the end today, being two different roles, the spleen venting Maddy and then the Q&A Maddy hanging out here with Bart.
Yeah, you got to see my venting side earlier. That was
an intriguing.
I tamed it down. I was more mad last night.
Hold on. Abby has a great point. So December 7th, Hanukkah begins, right?
Yeah.
That's also the day of the first of the Copa America draws. So that's like a huge day to celebrate. We should all just take off work.
I agree.
Well, we'll be talking about it on the 7th and the 8th. We'll be doing that too. So both of you enjoy the holidays. We'll be back at it again here, 9:05 tomorrow morning. The 4th hung up the light board on the side of the road, and we did World Cup time today. We definitely had the World Cup extra minutes going on. So both of you, please have a fantastic Thanksgiving. Take advantage of the Black Friday sales, and we'll be back at it again, 9:05 tomorrow morning.